Good evening, my beautiful subscribers, or scribers, as we now call you. We dropped the sub, just like we dropped the subservient. Yes, indeedy. Hello, good evening, scribers, famalan, brothers and sisters. We are ready for, it's going to be about 2.5 hours, okay? So we're going to do this in two parts. I did promise over the festive Xmas celestial celebratory period we know as Christ Mass that I would cover Thoth, the Hermetic principles, and such things as. So here we are. Sorry about the delay. That's how things is. What I'd like to say to you, in addition to what I'm about to present to you, is about me, myself, and I. And me, myself, and I have deleted the Facebook account that I've operated and managed on behalf of my fiction, Mister, all caps. And I'm sorry about that, everyone. That's just my personal preference, and I don't need to apologise. I know, but what I want to say is that I consider myself now some kind of a moderate, intermediate, beginning type teacher of sorts, and I accept that. But what I don't accept is being attacked and slander and defamation of character and energy vampires and 100. What did I stop? About 120 messages a day, 200 plus notifications. I'd lost control of all management of the account that I managed for, 3, 5, whatever, so many years. I had a few accounts and a few pages, and I'd like to turn a little bit recluse and private because of the oil and water game that I mentioned, and it's my right to do that. So I can't focus my own studies and development and career path in the way of scholarship path. When I say career path, I've got a career in the scholarship of mental alchemy. You're going to find out tonight. This is just such a wow. It's just I can't even describe what's going to happen and what you're going to hear and see and what we're going to discuss. But I know you're going to love it, and it's one of the final things that I need to bring to you as my family, brothers, sisters, my scribers. Because if you have got depression and you have got anxiety and you have got a chaotic, sporadic life at hand at the minute, you've got health issues, you've got issues about creation, your purpose, how to affect it, divinity. What's the title here? What have I called it? Creator, God, law, Hermeticism. It's one of them words what you can't always say properly. So if I stumble later, I'll apologize now. It will be happening. Thoth, Kybalion. That's something I brought to you by the three initiates that was in conjunction with the Green Emerald tablets, in conjunction with the Hermetic principles, in conjunction with, I know it's so much, the thesis, synthesis, love and hate being the same, love being the top end and hate being the lower end. We'll give love the top and hate the lower, or hate on the left and love on the right. We'll go horizontal, not vertical, whichever axes you prefer. And that's argumentably like the hot and the cold. Yeah, it's on the same spectrum, but it's just different levels of, and where does it begin? Where does it end? Where does it start? It's great. It really is good fun. So yeah, that's what all ties into. So with that said, when we look at law, when we look at man, land, air, water, that is law. Lore, that is law. Re, I said it right. And also the principality of the civil infractions that our persons get charged with, and then against the bondage of man to such certificates, and how we all, you, I, we, have all assembled and cognized such a tremendous, a torrent of of data, and it shocks us, it scars us, it fractures us, it depresses us. It sometimes leaves us more worse for wear than when you first go on the hero's quest, or the journey of discovery, whatever you want to call it. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for continued support, and ultimately patience. Yes, I have put some words up the top there of this thread saying, I've been out today and I've had a stressful day. Things haven't gone right. I'm the most optimistic, of men when it comes to workmen and ship, and doing jobs, and everything just that could have gone wrong has gone wrong, and everything was just too hard, too long, delayed me for the next appointment, and such things, going on as that. Then the traffic, it's just, I don't enjoy it at all. Servitude is not fun. It stresses us out. It puts undue pressure on us in many ways, not just fiscally, financially, as a family unit, with time, with sleep, with management of money, with accounts. And, you're actually out there traveling, or, in commerce, whichever it is. I'm speaking babble tonight, FYI, and that's how we're standing. But it's dangerous, and with the ice and the snow and the 0 point whatever, we're going out there into our offices, literally our work offices, as we are in office as the all caps fiction, fighting each other at junctions, at traffic lights, trying to undercut, going round the things that I see. And these are from Mercedes drivers, Benz drivers. I'm not picking on a particular group, but what I will say is, there's in Birmingham, you come this way and you get down there, have a good travel, and you will find that these Mercedes CL and CLK and AMGs, because you'd think they'd want to look after them because they're an expensive ride and that, but no, they just cut in and do what they want and turbo off, and you're like, wow, you really nearly just came to a meeting with me. Our ships nearly collided in the ocean of commerce, and it was all for what? Just to get a second, a fraction in front. But it's the one-upness. My engine's bigger than your engine. Oh wow, I see it all, and it's just like, why do I don't know. This video tonight will help, and it will help with all that I've said there. I've got this page muted, so we ain't getting no feedback and echo. I have learned. I've got my codex sorted out and my corrupted issues fixed. So with a little bit of luck, I've put in the description. Hello to the 22. Thank you very much for the joining of on this Wednesday. The description, the Kybalion, Hermes Trismegistus, and Thoth is key. If you've never heard of this man, you've never heard of, wow. In a nutshell, he's responsible allegedly for the creation of the pyramids, lived over the odds of what we do, was known by many names. I'm not going to go through it now, but you've got a Wikipedia. As much as I hate that place, sometimes on the internet, you do a search and you need some quick, concise reference, and that's all right. I know what I'm looking at. I don't ever advise using Wikipedia, but that happened to come up, and I liked it, and it fitted, and it is good. So we've put that there. There's references, names, associated articles of association with, and then there's a little bit about Hermeticism, also called Hermeticism or Hermeticism, also called Hermeticism, and it's a religious, philosophical, and esoteric tradition based primarily upon writings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, thrice greatest Hermes. Right, so there are some emerald tablets that have come to hand, yes, and these emerald tablets, something special about these, other than the contents and the inscription on them and the alleged author, which is they're atomically fixed. Now that makes indigos and such lights go, what? Atomically fixed? Who made them? There's nothing in this realm, on these planes, that is atomically fixed. I'd argue that not even man has learned how to do this. Perhaps we have, and it's secretive, but not. I don't know about much of this stuff being practiced with or mentioned of. So atomic fixture in our atomic realm, that's an amazing thing, because it can't be heated, burnt, etched, changed, melted, anything, destroyed, blown up, lasered, anything you want to try. them atoms are going to sit there fixed and locked in and impervious to every force man can throw at them. So they were meant to last. You know, they weren't. And they've been uncovered, and there've been various decodings of them. And I've got the, is it the Do Real? No, the Do Real. Is that the Kybalion? The three initiates. I forget, but I've got some translations from Crystal Inks, Crystal Word, then the word ink dot com or dot co dot com. Crystal Inks, Crystal Inks or Crystal Links. Yeah. Oh my goodness, I'm tired. And you go there and you'll find it easy. So the video is taken from Joe Kiernan, Kiernan. So Joe of the Kiernan tribe family has presented a video on January the 5th, 2015, and he said he's narrating it as well, the full chapters, and there's a lot of extra content in there that he brings you. So without further ado, we're going to skip over. I'm going to screen share, present to everybody, no echo, straight in with it. So just sit there patiently. Thank you, and all will be sorted. Aha, I see it's worked.
As the great and master of masters. We take great pleasure in presenting to the attention of students and investigators of the secret doctrines this little work based upon the world-old Hermetic teachings. There has been so little written upon this subject, notwithstanding the countless references to the teachings and the many works upon occultism, that many of the earnest searchers after the arcane truths
Bear with me while I just change the screen setting now. Patience is a virtue. There we go. Sorry about that, Famalan. Are you ready? I'm going to introduce the channel, whom he is, cover that, and then we're getting straight into it. I'm going to leave it running for about 20 minutes, and then there'll be comments. All right. Peace and love. Let's do this. I'm so excited. Thank you. So let's go down. Sorry, magnification. Where are we? Kybalion, Hermes Trismegistus, Thoth is the title there. I can't do screen magnification because I haven't got my mouse with my little wheel to make it, and I can't see it up there. So I'll read it you out. 124,707 views. There's Joe Kiernan, published on Jan 5th, 2015. Narration by Joe of the Kiernan clan. And we got 265 comments. For 124,000 views, it shows you, and the quality of this content is going to shatter some realms here, some planes of existence. My comments were incredible, Joe, excellent, and I need to promote and share your work. We are brothers and are as one. May I please share this content and your work? I will give you full credits and protect your intellectual property and rights. Absolutely outstanding. Thank you. Grazie. Peace, love, brother. All right, so here we go. Full screen. We're getting straight in with it.
The Kybalion, a study of the Hermetic philosophy of ancient Egypt and Greece by the three initiates. The lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of the understanding. To Hermes Trismegistus, known by the ancient Egyptians as Great Great, Master of Masters. We take great pleasure in presenting to the attention of students and investigators of the secret doctrines this little work based upon the world-old Hermetic teachings. There has been so little written upon this subject, notwithstanding the countless references to the teachings and the many works upon occultism, that many of the earnest searchers after the arcane truths will doubtless welcome the appearance of the present volume. The purpose of this work is not the enunciation of any special philosophy or doctrine, but rather is to give to the students a statement of the truth that will serve to reconcile the many bits of occult knowledge they may have acquired, but which are apparently opposed to each other, which are to serve to discourage and to disgust the beginner in the study. Our intent is not to erect a new temple of knowledge, but rather to place in the hands of the student a master key with which he may open the many inner doors in the temple of mystery through the main portals he has already entered. There is no portion of the occult teachings possessed by the world which have been so closely guarded as the fragments of the Hermetic teachings which have come down to us over the tens of centuries, which have elapsed since the lifetime of its great founder, Hermes Trismegistus, the scribe of the gods, who dwelt in old Egypt in the days when the present race of men was in its infancy, a contemporary with Abraham, and, if the legends be true, an instructor of that venerable sage. Hermes was, and is, the great central sun of occultism, whose rays have served to illumine the countless teachings which have promulgated since his time. All the fundamental and basic teachings embedded in the esoteric teachings of every race may be traced back to Hermes. Even the most ancient teachings of India undoubtedly have their roots in the original Hermetic teaching. From the land of the Ganges, many advanced occultists wandered to the land of Egypt, and sat at the feet of the master. From him they obtained the master key, which explained and reconciled their divergent views, and thus the secret doctrine was firmly established. From other lands also came the learned ones, all of whom regarded Hermes as the master of masters, and his influence was so great that in spite of the many wanderings from the path on the part of the centuries of teachers in these different lands, there may still be found a certain basic resemblance and correspondence which underlines the many and often quite divergent theories entertained and taught by the occultists of these different lands today. The student of comparative religions will be able to perceive the influence of the Hermetic teachings in every religion worthy of the name, now known to man, whether it be a dead religion or one in full vigor in our times. There is always a certain correspondence in spite of the contradictory features, and the Hermetic teachings act as the great reconciler. The life work of Hermes seems to have been in the direction of planting the great seed truth, which has grown and blossomed in so many strange forms, rather than establish a philosophy which would dominate the world's thought. But nevertheless, the original truths taught by him have been kept intact in their original purity by a few men in each age who, refusing great numbers or half-developed students and followers, followed the Hermetic custom and reserved their truth for the few who were ready to comprehend and master it. From lip to ear, the truth has been handed down among the few. There has always been a few initiates in each generation in the various lands of the earth who kept alive the sacred flame of the Hermetic teachings, and such have always been willing to use their lamps to relight the lesser lamps of the outside world when the light of the truth grew dim and clouded by reason of neglect, and when the wicks became clogged with foreign matter. There were always a few to tend faithfully the altar of the truth, upon which was kept alight by the perpetual lamp of wisdom. These men devoted their lives to the labor of love, which the poet has so well stated in these lines. Oh, let not the flame die out, cherished age after age in its dark cavern, in its holy temples cherished, fed by pure ministers of love. Let not the flame die out. These men have never sought popular approval, nor numbers of followers. They are indifferent to these things, for they know how few there are in each generation who are ready for the truth, or who would recognize it if it were presented to them. They reserve the strong meat for men, while others furnish the milk for babes. They reserve their pearls of wisdom for the few elect, who recognize their value, and who wear them in their crowns, instead of casting them before the materialistic vulgar swine, who would trample them in the mud and mix them with their disgusting mental food. But still, these men have never forgotten or overlooked the original teachings of Hermes regarding the passing on the words of truth to those ready to receive it, which teaching is stated in the Kybalion as follows: Where fall the footsteps of the master, the ears of those ready for his teachings open wide. And again, when the ears of the student are ready to hear, then cometh the lips to fill them with wisdom. But their customary attitude has always been strictly in accordance with the other Hermetic aphorism, also in the Kybalion. The lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of understanding. There are those who have criticized this attitude of the Hermeticists, and who have claimed that they did not manifest the proper spirit in their policy of seclusion. But a moment's glance back over the pages of history will show the wisdom of the masters, who knew the folly of attempting to teach the world that which it was neither ready nor willing to receive. The Hermeticists have never sought to be martyrs and have, instead, sat silently aside with a pitying smile on their closed lips, while the heathen raged noisily about them in their customary
Voice
amusement of
check.
putting to
Just
death
a quick voice check.
the honest but misguided enthusiasts who imagine that they could force upon a race of barbarians truth capable of being understood only by the elect who had advanced along the path. And the spirit of persecution has not yet died out in the land. There are certain Hermetic teachings which, if publicly promulgated, would bring down upon the teachers a great cry of scorn and revilement from the multitude, who would again raise the cry of crucify, crucify. In this little work, we have endeavored to give you an idea of the fundamental teachings of the Kybalion, striving to give you the working principles, leaving you to apply them to yourselves, rather than attempting to work out the teaching in detail. If you are a true student, you will be able to work out and apply these principles. If not, then you must develop yourself into one, for otherwise, the Hermetic teachings will be as words, words, words to you. The three initiates. Chapter 1. The Hermetic Philosophy. The lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of understanding. The Kybalion. From old Egypt have come the fundamental esoteric and occult teachings, which have so strongly influenced the philosophies of all races, nations, and peoples for several thousand years. Egypt, the home of the pyramids and the Sphinx, was the birthplace of the hidden wisdom and mystic teachings. From her secret doctrine, all nations have borrowed. India, Persia, Chaldea, Media, China, Japan, Assyria, ancient Greece and Rome, and other ancient countries partook liberally at the feast of knowledge, which the hierophants and masters of the land of Isis so freely provided for those who came prepared to partake of the great store of the mystic and occult lore, which the master minds of that ancient land had gathered together. In ancient Egypt dwelt the great adepts and masters who have never been surpassed, and who seldom have been equaled. During the centuries that have taken their processional flight since the days of the great Hermes, in Egypt was located the great lodge of lodges of the mystics. At the doors of her temples entered the neophytes who afterward, as hierophants, adepts, and masters, traveled to the four corners of the earth, carrying with them precious knowledge, which they were ready, anxious, and willing to pass on to those who were ready to receive the same. All students of the occult recognize the debt that they owe to these venerable masters of that ancient land. But among these great masters of ancient Egypt, there once dwelt one of whom masters hailed as the Master of Masters. This man, if man indeed he was, dwelt in Egypt in the earliest days. He was known as Hermes Trismegistus. He was the father of the occult wisdom, the founder of astrology, the discoverer of alchemy. The details of his life story are lost to history, owing to the lapse of the years, though several of the ancient countries disputed with each other in their claims to the honor of having furnished his birthplace, and this thousands of years ago. The date of his sojourn in Egypt, and that his last incarnation on this planet, is not now known, but it has been fixed at the earliest days of the oldest dynasties of Egypt, long before the days of Moses. Authorities regard him as a contemporary of Abraham, and some of the Jewish traditions go so far as to claim that Abraham acquired a portion of his mystic knowledge from Hermes himself. As the years rolled by after his passing from this plane of life, tradition recording that he lived 300 years in the flesh, the Egyptians deified Hermes and made him one of their gods under the name of Thoth. Years after, the people of ancient Greece also made him one of their many gods, calling him Hermes, the god of wisdom. The Egyptians revered his memory for many centuries, yes, tens of centuries, calling him the scribe of the gods, and bestowing upon him distinctively his ancient title, Trismegistus, which means the thrice great, the great great, the greatest great, etc. In all of the ancient lands, the name of Hermes Trismegistus was revered, the name being synonymous with the fount of wisdom. Even to this day, we use the term hermetic in the sense of secret, sealed so that nothing can escape, etc. And by this reason, of the fact that the followers of Hermes always observed the principle of secrecy in their teachings, they did not believe in casting pearls before swine, but rather held to the teaching of milk for babes, meat for strong men, both of which maxims are familiar to readers of the Christian scriptures, both of which had been used by the Egyptians for centuries before the Christian era. And this policy of careful dissemination of the truth has always been characterized by the Hermetics, even unto the present day. The Hermetic teachings are to be found in all lands, among all religions, but never identified with any particular country, nor with any particular religious sect. This because of the warning of the ancient teachers against allowing the secret doctrine to become crystallized into a creed. The wisdom of this caution is apparent to all students of history. The ancient occultisms of India and Persia degenerated and was largely lost, owing to the fact that the teachers became priests and so mixed theology with the philosophy. The result being that the occultism of India and Persia has been gradually lost amidst the mass of religious superstition, cults, creeds, and gods. So it was with ancient Greece and Rome. So it was with the Hermetic teachings of the Gnostics and early Christians, which were lost at the time of Constantine, whose iron hand smothered philosophy with the blanket of theology, losing to the Christian church that which was its very essence and spirit, and causing it to grope throughout several centuries before it found its way back to its ancient faith. The indications apparent to all careful observers in this 20th century being that the church is now struggling to get back to its ancient mystic teachings. But there were always a few faithful souls who kept alive the flame, tending it carefully, and not allowing its light to become extinguished. And thanks to these staunch hearts and fearless minds, we have the truth still with us. But it is not found in books to any great extent. It has been passed along from master to student, from initiate to hierophant, from lip to ear. When it was written down at all, its meaning was veiled in terms of alchemy and astrology, so that only those possessing the key could read it. This was made necessary in order to avoid the persecutions of the theologians of the Middle Ages, who fought the secret doctrine with fire and sword, stake, gibbet, and cross. Even to this day, there will be found few reliable books on the Hermetic philosophy, although there are countless references to it in many books written on various phases of occultism. And yet, the Hermetic philosophy is only the master key which will open all the doors of occult teachings. In the early days, there was a compilation of certain basic Hermetic doctrines passed from teacher to student, which was known as the Kybalion. The exact significance and meaning of the term having been lost for several centuries. This teaching, however, is known to many to whom it has descended from mouth to ear, on and on throughout the centuries. Its precepts have never been written down or printed, so far as we know. It was merely a collection of maxims, axioms, and precepts which were non-understandable to outsiders, but which were readily understood by students. After the axioms, maxims, and precepts had been explained and exemplified by the Hermetic initiates to their neophytes, these teachings really constituted the basic principles of the art of Hermetic alchemy, which, contrary to the general belief, dealt in the mastery of mental forces rather than the material elements, the transmutation of one kind of mental vibration into others, instead of the changing of one kind of metal into another. The legends of the philosopher's stone, which would turn base metal into gold, was an allegory relating to Hermetic philosophy, readily understood by all students of true Hermeticism. In this little book, of which this is the first lesson, we invite our students to examine into the Hermetic teachings as set forth in the Kybalion and as explained by ourselves, humble students of the teachings, who, while bearing the title of initiates, are still students at the feet of Hermes, the Master. We trust that the students to whom we offer this little work will derive as much benefit from the study of its pages as have the many who have gone on before, treading the same path to mastery throughout the centuries that has passed since the time of Hermes Trismegistus, the master of masters, the great great, in the words of the Kybalion. Where fall the footsteps of the master, the ears of those ready for his teaching open wide. The Kybalion. When the ears of the student are ready to hear, then cometh the lips to fill them with wisdom. The Kybalion. So that according to the teachings, the passage of this book to those ready for the instruction will attract the attention of such as prepared to receive the teaching. And likewise, when the pupil is ready to receive the truth, then will this little book come to him or to her. Such is the law, the Hermetic principle of cause and effect, and in its aspect of the law of attraction, will bring lips and ear together, pupil and book in company. So mote it be. Chapter 2. The 7 Hermetic Principles. The principles of truth are 7. He who knows these, understandingly, possesses the magic key before whose touch all the doors of the temple fly open. The Kybalion. The 7 Hermetic principles, upon which the entire Hermetic philosophy is based, are as follows. 1. The principle of mentalism. 2. The principle of correspondence. 3. The principle of vibration. 4. The principle of polarity. 5. The principle of rhythm. 6. The principle of cause and effect. 7. The principle of gender. These 7 principles will be discussed and explained as we proceed with these lessons. A short explanation of each, however, may as well be given at this point. Number 1. The principle of mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is mental. The Kybalion. This principle embodies the truth that all is mind. It explains that the all, which is the substantial reality underlying the outward manifestations and appearances which we know under the terms as the material universe, the phenomenon of life, matter, energy, and in short, all that is apparent in our material senses, is spirit, which in itself is unknowable and undefinable, but which may be considered and thought of as a universal, infinite living mind. It also explains that all the phenomenal world and universe is simply a mental creation of the all, subject to the laws of the created things, and that the universe as a whole and its parts or units has its existence in the mind of the all, in which mind we live and move and have our being. This principle, by establishing the mental nature of the universe, easily explains all of the varied mental and psychic phenomenon that occupy such a large portion of the public attention, and which, without such explanation, are non-understandable and defy scientific treatment. An understanding of this great Hermetic principle of mentalism enables the individual to readily grasp the laws of the mental universe and to apply the same to his well-being and advancement. The Hermetic student is enabled to apply intelligently the great mental laws instead of using them in haphazard manner. With the master key in his possession, this student may unlock the many doors of the mental and psychic temple of knowledge and enter the same freely and intelligently. This principle explains the true nature of energy, power, and matter, and how and why all these are subordinate to the mastery of the mind. One of the old Hermetic masters wrote, long ages ago, "He who grasps the truth of mental nature of the universe is well advanced on the path to mastery." And these words are as true today as the time they were first written. Without this master key, mastery is impossible, and the student knocks in vain at the many doors of the temple. 2. The principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. The Kybalion. This principle embodies the truth that there is always a correspondence between the laws and phenomenon of the various planes of being and life. The old Hermetic axiom ran in these words: as above, so below; as below, so above. And the grasping of this principle gives one the means of solving many a dark paradox and hidden secrets of nature. There are planes beyond our knowing, but when we apply the principle of correspondence to them, we are able to understand much that would otherwise be unknowable to us. This principle of universal application and manifestation on the various planes of the material, mental, and spiritual universe, it is a universal law. The ancient Hermeticists considered this principle as one of the most important mental instruments by which a man was able to pry aside the obstacles which hid from view the unknown. Its use even tore aside the veil of Isis to the extent that a glimpse of the face of the goddess might be caught. Just as a knowledge of the principles of geometry enables to measure distant suns and their movements while seated in his observatory, so a knowledge of the principle of correspondence enables man to reason intelligently from the known to the unknown. Studying the monad, he understands the archangel. 3. The principle of vibration. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. The Kybalion. This principle embodies the truth that everything is in motion. Everything vibrates. Nothing is at rest. Which modern science endorses, and which each new scientific discovery tends to verify. And yet this Hermetic principle was enunciated thousands of years ago by the masters of ancient Egypt. This principle explains that the differences between different manifestations of matter, energy, mind, and even spirit result largely from varying rates of vibration. From the all, which is pure spirit, down to the grossest form of matter, all is in vibration. The higher the vibration, the higher the positions in the scale. The vibration of spirit is at such an infinite rate of intensity and rapidity that it is practically at rest, just as a rapidly moving wheel seems to be motionless. And at the other end of the scale, there are gross forms of matter whose vibrations are so less to seem at rest. Between these poles, there are millions upon millions of varying degrees of vibration. From corpuscle and electron, atom and molecule, to words and universes, everything is in vibratory motion. This is also true on the planes of energy and force, which are but varying degrees of vibration, and also on the mental planes, whose states depend on mental vibrations, and even on the spiritual planes. An understanding of this principle with the appropriate formulas enables Hermetic students to control their mental vibrations as well as those of others. The masters also apply this principle to the conquering of natural phenomena in various ways. He who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power, says one of the old writers. The principle of polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. The Kybalion. This principle embodies the truth that everything is dual, everything has two poles, everything has its pair of opposites, all of which were old Hermetic axioms. It explains the old paradoxes that have perplexed so many, which have been stated as follows. Thesis and antithesis are identical in nature, but different in degree. Opposites are the same, differing in only degree. The pairs of opposites may be reconciled. Extremes meet. Everything is and isn't at the same time. All truths are but half-truths. Every truth is half false. There are two sides to everything, etc., etc., etc. It explains that in everything there are two poles, or opposite aspects, and that opposites are really only the two extremes of the same thing, with many varying degrees between them to illustrate heat and cold, although opposites are really the same thing, the differences consisting merely of degrees of the same thing. Look at your thermometer and see where you can discover where heat terminates and cold begins. There is no such thing as absolute heat or absolute cold. The terms heat and cold simply indicate varying degrees of the same thing, and that same thing, which manifests as heat or cold, is merely a form, variety, and rate of vibration. So heat and cold are simply the two poles of that which we call heat, and the phenomena attendant thereupon are manifestations of the principle of polarity. The principle manifests in the case of light and darkness, which are the same thing. The difference consisting of varying degrees between the poles of the phenomena. Where does darkness leave off and light begin? What is the difference between large and small, between hard and soft, between black and white, between sharp and dull, between noise and quiet, between high and low, between positive and negative? The principle of polarity explains these paradoxes, and no other principle can supersede it. The same principle operates on the mental plane. Let us take a radical and extreme example, that of love and hate, two mental states apparently totally different. And yet, there are degrees of hate and degrees of love, and a middle point in which we use the terms like or dislike, which shade in each other so gradually that sometimes we are at a loss to know whether we like or dislike, or neither. And all are simply degrees of the same thing, as you will see when you but think for a moment. And more than this, and considered of more importance by the Hermeticist, it is possible to change the vibrations of hate into the vibrations of love in one's own mind and in the minds of others. Many of you who read these lines have had personal experiences of the involuntary rapid transition from love to hate and the reverse. And in your own case, and that of others, and you will therefore realize the possibility of this being accomplished by the use of will, by means of the Hermetic formulas. Good and evil are but poles of the same thing, and the Hermeticist understands the art of transmuting evil into good by means of an application of the principle of polarity. In short, the art of polarization becomes a phase of mental alchemy, known in practice by the ancient and modern Hermetic masters. An understanding of the principle will enable one to change his own polarity, as well as that of others, if he will devote the time and study necessary to master the art. 5. The principle of rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. The Kybalion. This principle embodies the truth that in everything there is manifested a measured motion, to and fro, and a flow and an inflow, a swing and a backswing, a pendulum-like movement, a tide-like ebb and flow, a high tide and low tide. Between the poles there exists an accordance with the principle of polarity described a moment ago. There is always an action and a reaction, an advance and a retreat, a rising and a sinking. This is the law in affairs of the universe, suns, worlds, men, animals, mind, energy, and matter. This law is manifest in the creation and destruction of worlds, in the rise and fall of nations, in the life and in all things, and finally in the mental states of man. And it is with this latter that the Hermeticists find the understanding of the principle most important. The Hermeticists have grasped this principle, finding its universal application, and have also discovered certain means to overcome its effects in themselves by the use of the appropriate formulas and methods. They apply the mental law of neutralization. They cannot annul the principle or cause it to cease its operation, but they have learned how to escape its effects upon themselves to a certain degree depending upon the mastery of the principle. They have learned how to use it instead of being used by it. In this and similar methods consists the art of the Hermeticists. The master of the Hermetics polarizes himself at the point which he desires to rest, and then neutralizes the rhythm swing of the pendulum, which would tend to carry him to the other pole. Individuals who have attained any degree of self-mastery do this to a certain degree, more or less unconsciously, but the master does it consciously, and by the use of his will, and attains a degree of poise and mental firmness almost impossible of belief and on part of the masses who are swung backward and forward like a pendulum. This principle and that of polarity have been closely studied by the Hermeticists, and the methods of counteracting, neutralizing, and using them from an important part of the Hermetic mental alchemy. 6. The principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many places of causation, but nothing escapes law. The Kybalion. This principle embodies the fact that there is a cause for every effect, an effect for every cause. It explains that everything happens according to law, that nothing ever merely happens. There is no such thing as chance. That while there are various planes of cause and effect, the higher dominating the lower planes, still nothing ever entirely escapes the law. The Hermeticists understand the art and methods of rising above the ordinary plane of cause and effect to a certain degree, and by mentally rising to a higher plane, they become causers instead of effects. The masses of people are carried along, obedient to environment, the wills and desires of others stronger than themselves, heredity, suggestion, and other outward causes moving them about like pawns of the chessboard of life. But the masters, rising to the plane above, dominate their moods, characters, qualities, and powers, as well as the environment surrounding them. They become movers instead of pawns. They help to play the game of life instead of being played and moved about by other wills and environments. They use the principle instead of being its tools. The masters obey the causation of the higher planes, but they help to rule on their own plane. In this statement, there is condensed a wealth of Hermetic knowledge. Let him read who can. 7. The principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. The Kybalion. The principle of gender. This principle embodies the truth that there is gender manifested in everything, the masculine and feminine principles ever at work. This is true not only of the physical plane, but of the mental and even the spiritual planes. On the physical plane, the principle manifests as sex. On the higher planes, it takes higher forms, but the principle is ever the same. No creation, physical, mental, or spiritual, is possible without this principle. An understanding of its laws will throw light on many a subject that has perplexed the minds of men. The principle of gender works ever in the direction of generation, regeneration, and creation. Everything and every person contains the two elements or principles, or this great principle, within it, him or her. Every male thing has the female element also. Every female contains also the male principle. If you would understand the philosophy of mental and spiritual creation, generation, and regeneration, you must understand and study this Hermetic principle. It contains the solution of many mysteries of life. We caution you that this principle has no reference to the many base, pernicious, and degrading lustful theories, teachings, and practices, which are taught under fanciful titles, and which are a prostitution of the great natural principle of gender. Such base revivals of the ancient infamous forms of phallicism tend to ruin mind, body, and soul, and the Hermetic philosophy has ever sounded the warning note against these degraded teachings, which tend toward lust, licentiousness, and perversion of nature's principles. If you seek such teachings, you must go elsewhere for them. Hermeticism contains nothing for you along these lines. To the pure, all things are pure. To the base, all things are base. Chapter 3. Mental Transmutation. Mind, as well as metals and elements, may be transmuted from state to state, degree to degree, condition to condition, pole to pole, vibration to vibration. True Hermetic transmutation is a mental art. The Kybalion. The Hermeticists were the original alchemists, astrologers, and psychologists. Hermes having been the founder of these schools of thought. From astrology has grown modern astronomy. From alchemy has grown modern chemistry. From the mystic psychology has grown the modern psychology of the schools. But it must not be supposed that the ancients were ignorant of that which the modern schools suppose to be their exclusive and special property. The records engraved on the stones of ancient Egypt show conclusively that the ancients had a full comprehensive knowledge of astronomy, the very building of the pyramids showing the connection between their design and the study of astronomical science. Nor were they ignorant of chemistry, for the fragments of the ancient writings show that they were acquainted with the chemical properties of things. In fact, the ancient theories regarding physics are being slowly verified by the latest discoveries of modern science, notably those relating to the constitution of matter. Nor must it be supposed that they were ignorant of the so-called modern discoveries in psychology. On the contrary, the Egyptians were especially skilled in the science of psychology, particularly in the branches that the modern schools ignore, but which, nevertheless, are being uncovered under the name of psychic science, which is perplexing the psychologists of today and making them reluctantly admit there may be something in it after all. The truth is that beneath the material chemistry, astronomy, and psychology, that is, the psychology in its phase of brain action, the ancients possessed a knowledge of the transcendental astronomy, called astrology, of transcendental chemistry, called alchemy, of transcendental psychology, called mystic psychology. They possessed the inner knowledge as well as the outer knowledge, the latter alone being possessed by modern scientists. Among the many secret branches of knowledge possessed by the Hermeticists was that known as the mental transmutation, which forms the subject matter of this lesson. Transmutation is a term usually employed to designate the ancient art of the transmutation of metals, particularly of the base metals into gold. The word transmute means to change from one nature, form, or substance into another, to transform. And accordingly, mental transmutation means the art of changing and transforming mental states, forms, and conditions into others. So you may see that mental transmutation is the art of mental chemistry. If you like the term, a form of practical mystic psychology. But this means far more than appears on the surface. Transmutation, alchemy, or chemistry on the mental plane is important enough in its effects, to be sure, and if the art stopped there, it would still be one of the most important branches of study known to man. But this is only the beginning. Let us see why. The first of the 7 Hermetic principles is the principle of mentalism, the axiom of which is the all is mind, the universe is mental, which means that the underlying reality of the universe is mind, and the universe itself is mental, that is, existing in the mind of the all. We shall consider this principle in succeeding lessons, but let us see the effect of the principle if it be assumed to be true. If the universal is mental in its nature, then the mental transmutation must be the art of changing the conditions of the universe along the lines of matter, force, and mind. So you see, therefore, that mental transmutation is really the magic of which the ancient writers had so much to say in their mystical works, and about which they gave so much few practical instructions. If all be mental, then the art which enables one to transmute mental conditions must render the master the controller of material conditions, as those ordinarily called mental. As a matter of fact, none but advanced mental alchemists had been able to attain the degree of power necessary to control the grosser physical conditions, such as the control of the elements of nature, the production or cessation of the tempests, the production and cessation of earthquakes, and other great physical phenomena, but that such men have existed and do exist today is a matter of earnest belief to all advanced occultists of all schools. That the masters exist and have these powers, the best teachers assure their students, experiences which justify them in such belief and statements. These masters do not make public exhibitions of their powers, but seek seclusion from crowds of men in order to better work their way along the path of attainment. We mention their existence at this point merely to call to your attention to the fact that their power is entirely mental and operates along the lines of a higher mental transmutation under the Hermetic principle of mentalism. The universe is mental, the Kybalion. But students and Hermeticists of lesser degree than masters, the initiates and teachers, are able to freely work along the mental plane in mental transmutation. In fact, all that we call psychic phenomena, mental influence, mental science, new thought phenomena, etc., operates along the same general lines, for there is but one principle involved, no matter by what name we call the phenomenon. The student and practitioner of mental transmutation works among the mental plane, transmuting mental conditions and states, etc., into others according to various formulas, more or less efficacious. The various treatments, affirmations, denials, etc., of the schools of mental science are but formulas, often quite imperfect and unscientific, of the Hermetic art. The majority of modern practitioners are quite ignorant compared to the ancient masters, for they lack the fundamental knowledge upon which the work is based. Not only may the mental states, etc., of oneself be changed or transmuted by Hermetic methods, but also the states of others may be, and are, constantly transmuted in the same way, usually unconsciously, but often consciously, by the same understanding, the laws and principles, in cases where the people affected are not informed of the principles of self-protection. And more than this, many students and practitioners of modern mental science know every material condition, depending upon the minds of other people, may be changed or transmuted in accordance with the earnest desire, will, and treatments of the person desiring changed conditions of life. The public are so generally informed regarding these things at present that we do not deem it necessary to mention the same at length. Our purpose at this point being merely to show the Hermetic principle and art underlying all these various forms of practice, good and evil, for the force can be used in opposite directions, according to the Hermetic principles of polarity. In this little book, we shall state the basic principles of mental transmutation, that all who read may grasp the underlying principles and thus possess the master key that will unlock the many doors of the principle of polarity. We shall now proceed to a consideration of the first of the 7 Hermetic principles, the principle of mentalism, in which is explained in the truth that the all is mind, the universe is mental, in the words of the Kybalion. We ask the close attention and careful study of this great principle on the part of our students, for it is really the basic principle of the whole Hermetic philosophy and of the Hermetic art of mental transmutation. Chapter 4. The All. Under and back of the universe of time, space, and change is ever to be found the substantial reality, the fundamental truth, the Kybalion. Substance means that which underlies all outward manifestations, the essence, the essential reality, the thing in itself, etc. Substantial means actually existing, being the essential element, being real. Reality means the state of being real, true, enduring, valid, fixed, permanent, actual. Under and behind all outward appearances or manifestations, there must always be a substantial reality. This is the law. Man, considering the universe of which he is a unit, sees nothing but change in matter, forces, and mental states. He sees that nothing really is, but that everything is becoming and changing. Nothing stands still. Everything is being born, growing, dying. The very instant a thing reaches its height, it begins to decline. The law of rhythm is in constant operation. There is no reality, enduring quality, fixity, or substantiality in anything. Nothing is permanent but change. He sees all things evolving from other things and resolving into other things, a constant action and reaction, inflow and outflow, building up and tearing down, creating and destructing, birth, growth, and death. Nothing endures but change. And if he be a thinking man, he realizes that all of these changing things must be outward appearances or manifestations of some underlying power, some substantial reality. All thinkers in all lands, in all times, have assumed the necessity of postulating the existence of this substantial reality. All philosophies worthy of the name have been based upon this thought. Men have given to this substantial reality many names. Some have called it by the term of deity, others have called it the infinite and eternal energy, others have tried to call it matter, but all have acknowledged its existence. It is self-evident. It needs no argument. In these lessons, we have followed the example of some of the world's greatest thinkers, both in ancient and modern, the Hermetic masters, and have called this underlying power, this substantial reality, by the Hermetic name of the All, which term we consider the most comprehensive of the many terms applied by man to that which transcends names and terms. We accept and teach the view of the great Hermetic thinkers of all times, as well as those illumined souls who have reached higher planes of being, both of whom assert that inner nature of the All is unknowable. Must be so, for not by the All itself can comprehend its own nature and being. The Hermeticists believe and teach that the All in itself is and must ever be unknowable. They regard all theories, guesses, and speculations of the theologians and the metaphysicians regarding the inner nature of the All as but the childish efforts of mortal minds to grasp the secret of the infinite. Such efforts have always failed and always will fail from the very nature of the task. One pursuing such inquiries travels around and around in the labyrinth of thought until he is lost to all sane reasoning, action, or conduct, and is utterly unfitted for the work of life. He is like the squirrel, which frantically runs around and around the circling treadmill wheel of his cage, traveling ever and yet reaching nowhere. At the end, a prisoner still, and standing just where he started. And still more presumptuous are those who attempted to ascribe to the All the personality, the qualities, properties, characteristics, and attributes of themselves, ascribing to the All the human emotions, feelings, and characteristics, even down to the pettiest qualities or mankind, such as jealousy, susceptibility to flattery and praise, desire for offerings and worship, and all other survivals from the days of childhood of the race. Such ideas are not worthy of grown men or women and are rapidly being discarded. At this point, it may be proper for me to state that we make a distinction between religion and theology, between philosophy and metaphysics. Religion, to us, means that institutional realization of the existence of the all and one's relationship to it, while theology means the attempts of men to ascribe personality, qualities, and characteristics to it. Their theories regarding its affairs, will, desires, plans, and designs, and their assumption of the office of middlemen between the all and the people. Philosophy, to us, means the inquiry after knowledge of things knowable and thinkable, while metaphysics means the attempt to carry the inquiry over and beyond the boundaries and into regions unknowable and unthinkable, and with the same tendency as that of theology. And consequently, both religion and philosophy mean to us things having roots in reality, while theology and metaphysics seem like broken reeds, rooted in the quicksands of ignorance, and affording not but the most insecure support for the mind or soul of man. We do not insist upon our students accepting these definitions. We mention them merely to show our position. At any rate, you shall hear very little about theology and metaphysics in these lessons. But while the essential nature of the all is unknowable, there are certain truths connected with its existence which the human mind finds itself compelled to accept. And in examination of these reports, form a proper subject of inquiry, particularly as they agree with the reports of the illumined on higher planes. And to this inquiry we now invite you. The human reason, whose reports we must accept so long as we think at all, informs us as follows regarding the all, and that without attempting to recover the veil of the unknowable, all must be all that really is. There could be nothing existing outside the all, else the all would not be the all. The all must be infinite, for it is nothing else to define, confine, bound, limit, or restrict the all. It must be infinite in time, or eternal. It must have always continuously existed, for there is nothing else to have ever created it, and something can never evolve from nothing. And if it had ever not been, even for a moment, it would not be now. It must continuously exist forever, for there is nothing to destroy it, and it can never not be, even for a moment, because something can never become nothing. It must be infinite in space. It must be everywhere, for there is no place outside of the all. It cannot be otherwise than continuous in space, without break, cessation, separation, or interruption. For there is nothing to break, separate, or interrupt its continuity, and nothing with which to fill the gaps. It must be infinite in power, or absolute, for there is nothing to limit, restrict, restrain, confine, disturb, or condition it. It is the subject to no other power, for there is no other power. 3. The all must be immutable, or not subject to change in its real nature, for there is nothing to work changes upon it, nothing in which could change, nor from which it could have changed. 2. Nor subtracted from, increased nor diminished, nor become greater or lesser in any respect whatsoever. It must have always been, and must always remain. Just what it is now. The all. There has never been, is not now, and never will be anything else which it can change. The all being infinite, absolute, eternal, and unchangeable, it must follow that anything finite, changeable, fleeting, and conditioned cannot be the all. And there is nothing outside the all. In reality, then any and all such finite things must be as nothing in reality. Now, do not become befogged, nor frightened. We are not trying to lead you in the Christian Science field under the cover of Hermetic philosophy. There is a reconciliation of this apparently contradictory state of affairs. Be patient. We will reach it in time. We see around us that which is called matter, which forms the physical condition for all forms. Is the all merely matter? Not at all. Matter cannot manifest life or mind. And as life and mind are manifested in the universe, the all cannot be matter, for nothing rises higher than its own source. Nothing is ever manifested in an effect that it is not the cause. Nothing is evolved as a consequent that is not involved as an antecedent. And the modern science informs us that there is really no such thing as matter, that what we call matter is merely interrupted energy or force. That is, energy or force at a low rate of vibration. As a recent writer has said, matter has melted into mystery. Even material science has abandoned the theory of matter and now rests on the basis of energy. Then is the all mere energy or force? Not energy or force, as the materialists use the terms, for their energy and force are blind, mechanical things, devoid of life and mind. Life and mind can never evolve from blind energy or force, for the reason given a moment ago. Nothing can rise higher than its source. Nothing is evolved unless it is involved. Nothing manifests in the effect unless it is in the cause. And so that the all cannot be mere energy or force. For if it were, then there would be no such things as life and mind in existence. And we know better than that. For are we alive and using mind to consider this very question? And so are those who claim that energy or force is everything. What is there then higher than matter or energy that we know to be existent in the universe? Life and mind. Life and mind in their varying degrees of unfoldment. Then you ask, do you mean to tell us that the all is life and mind? Yes and no. If you mean life and mind as we poor petty mortals know them, we say no. The all is not that. But what kind of life and mind do you mean, you ask? Mean that which the illumined souls mean when they reverently pronounce the word spirit. All is infinite living mind. The illumined call it spirit. Chapter 5. The Mental Universe. The universe is mental, held in the mind of the all, the Kybalion. The all is spirit. But what is spirit? The question cannot be answered for the reason that its definition is practically that of the all, which cannot be explained or defined. Spirit is simply a name that men give to the highest conception of infinite living mind. It means the real essence. It means living mind, as much superior to life and mind as we know them, superior to mechanical energy and matter. Spirit transcends our understanding, and we use the term merely that we may think or speak of the all. Purposes of thought and understanding, We are justified in thinking of spirit as infinite living mind, at the same time acknowledging that we cannot fully understand it. We must either do this or stop thinking of matter at all. Let us now proceed to a consideration of the nature of the universe as a whole and in its parts. What is the universe? We have seen that there can be nothing outside of the all. Then is the universe the all? No, this cannot be, because the universe seems to be made up of many and is constantly changing, and in other ways it does not measure up to the ideas that we are compelled to accept regarding the all, as stated in our last session. Then if the universe be not the all, then it must be nothing. Such is the inevitable conclusion of the mind at first thought. But this will not satisfy the question, for we are sensible of the existence of the universe. But if the universe is neither the all nor nothing, what could it be? Let us examine this question. If the universe exists at all, or seems to exist, it must proceed in some way from the all. It must be a creation of the all. But as something can never come from nothing, from what could the all have created it? Some philosophers have answered this question by saying that the all was created by the universe from itself, that is, from the being and substance of the all. But this will not do, for the all cannot be subtracted from, nor divided, as we have seen. And then again, if this be so, would not each particle in the universe be aware of its being the all? The all could not lose its knowledge of itself, nor actually becoming an atom or blind force or a lowly living thing. Some men, indeed, realizing that the all is indeed all, and also recognizing that they, the men, existed, have jumped to the conclusion that they and the all were identical, and they have filled the air with shouts of, "I am God," to the amusement of the multitude and sorrow of the sages. The claim of the corpuscle that "I am man" would be modest in comparison. But what indeed is the universe, if be not the all, not yet created by the all, having separated itself into fragments? What else can it be? Of what else can it be made? This is the great question. Let us examine it carefully. We find here that the principle of correspondence comes to our aid. The old Hermetic axiom, as above, so below, may be pressed into service at this point. Let us endeavor to get a glimpse of the workings on higher planes by examining those on our own. The principle of correspondence must apply to this as well as to other problems. Let us see. On his own plane of being, how does man create? Well, first, he may create by making something out of outside materials. But this will not do, for there are no materials outside of the all with which it may create. Well then, secondly, man procreates or reproduces his kind by the process of begetting, which is self-multiplication, accomplished by transferring a portion of his substance to his offspring. But this will not do, because the all cannot transfer or subtract a portion of itself, nor can it reproduce or multiply itself. In the first place, there would be a taking away, and in the second case, a multiplication or addition to the all. But both thoughts are an absurdity. There is no third way in which man creates. Yes, there is. He creates mentally, and in so doing, he uses no outside materials, nor does he reproduce himself. And yet, His spirit pervades the mental creation. Following the principle of correspondence, we are justified in considering that the all creates the universe mentally, in a matter akin to the process whereby man creates mental images. And here is where the report of reason tallies precisely with the report of the illumined, as shown by their teachings and writings. Such are the teachings of the wise men. Such was the teaching of Hermes. The all can create in no other way except mentally, without either using material or else reproducing itself, which is impossible. There is no escape from this conclusion of the reason, which, as we have said, agrees with the highest teachings of the illumined, just as you, the student, may create a universe of your own in your mentality. So does the all create universes in its own mentality. But your universe is the mental creation of a finite mind, whereas that of the all is the creation of an infinite. The two are similar in kind, but infinitely different in degree. We shall examine more closely the process of creation and manifestation as we proceed. But this is the point to fix in your minds at this stage. The universe and all it contains is a mental creation of the all. Indeed, the all is mind. The all creates in its infinite mind countless universes which exist for eons of time, and yet, to the all, the creation, development, decline, and death of a million universes is as the time of a twinkling of an eye. The Kybalion. The infinite mind of the all is the womb of universes. The Kybalion. The principle of gender is manifested on all planes of life, material, mental, and spiritual. But, as we have said before, gender does not mean sex. Sex is merely a material manifestation of gender. Gender means relating to generation or creation. And wherever anything is generated or created on any plane, the principle of gender must be manifested. And this is true even in the creation of universes. Now, do not jump to the conclusion that we are teaching that there is a male and female God or creator. That idea is merely a distortion of the ancient teachings on the subject. The true teaching is that the all, in itself, is above gender, as it is above every other law, including those of time and space. It is the law from which the laws proceed, and it is not subject to them. But when the all manifests on the plane of generation or creation, then it acts according to law and principle, for it is moving on a lower plane of being, and consequently, it manifests the principle of gender in its masculine and feminine aspects on the mental plane, of course. This idea may seem startling to some of you who hear it for the first time, but you all really passively accepted it in your everyday conceptions. You speak of the fatherhood of God and the motherhood of nature, of God the divine father and nature the universal mother, and have thus instinctively acknowledged the principle of gender in the universe. Is this not so? But the Hermetic teaching does not imply a real duality. The all is one. The two aspects are merely aspects of manifestation. The teaching is that the masculine principle manifested by the all stands, in a way, apart from the actual mental creation of the universe. It projects its will toward the feminine principle, which may be called nature, whereupon the latter begins the actual work of the evolution of the universe from simple centers of activity onto man, and then on and on still higher, all according to well-established and firmly enforced laws of nature. If you prefer the old figures of thought, you may think of the masculine principle as God, the Father, and of the feminine principle as nature, the universal mother, from whose womb all things have been born. This is more than a mere poetic figure of speech. It is an idea of the actual process of creation of the universe. But always remember that the all is but one, and that in its infinite mind, the universe is generated, created, and exists. It may help you to get the proper idea if you will apply the law of correspondence to yourself and your own mind. You know that part of you which you call I, in a sense, stands apart and witnesses the creation of mental images in your own mind. The part of your mind in which the mental generation is accomplished may be called the me, in distinction from the I, which stands apart and witnesses and examines the thoughts, ideas, and images of the me. As above, so below. Remember? And the phenomenon of one plane may be employed to solve the riddles of higher or lower planes. Is it any wonder that you, the child, feel that instinctive reverence for the all, which feeling we call religion, that respect, that reverence for the Father mind? Is it any wonder that when you consider the works and wonders of nature, you are overcome with a mighty feeling which has its roots way down in your inmost being? It is the mother mind that you are pressing close up to, like a babe to the breast. Stake of supposing that the little world you see around you, the earth, which is a mere grain of dust in the universe, is the universe itself. There are millions upon millions of such worlds, and greater. And there are millions and millions of such universes in existence within the infinite mind of the all. And even in our own little solar system, there are regions and planes of life far higher than ours, and beings compared to which we earth mortals are as slimy life forms that dwell on the ocean's bed when compared to man. There are beings with powers and attributes higher than man has ever dreamed of God possessing. And yet these beings were as once you, and still lower, and you will be even as they, and still higher, in time. For such is the destiny of man as reported by the illumined. And death is not real, even in the relative sense. It is but birth to a new life, and you shall go on, and on, and on, to higher and still higher planes of life, for eons upon eons of time. The universe is your home, and you shall explore its farthest recesses before the end of time. You are dwelling in the infinite mind of the all, and your possibilities and opportunities are infinite, both in time and space. And at the end of the grand cycle of eons, when the all shall draw back into itself all its creations, you will go gladly, for you will then be able to know the whole truth of being at one with the all. Such is the report of the illumined, those who have advanced well along the path. And in the meantime, rest calm and serene. You are safe and protected by the infinite power of the Father-Mother mind. Within the Father-Mother mind, mortal children are at home, the Kybalion. There is not one who is fatherless nor motherless in the universe, the Kybalion. Chapter 6. The Divine Paradox. the half-wise, recognizing the comparative unreality of the universe, imagine that they may defy its laws. Such are vain and presumptuous fools, and they are broken against the rocks and torn asunder by the elements of reason and their folly. The truly wise, knowing the nature of the universe, use the laws against laws, the higher against the lower, and by the art of alchemy, transmute that which is undesirable into which is worthy.
Okay, then. I hear you, Jonesy. I hear what you're saying. Let me just let the live feed catch up. 1 minute. We're off. We'll have a chat. I will check your comments. Let me get the screen share off, sort the system out. And we shall rock and roll. That was chapter 6 we got up to out of a 7, I think. So you've done well there. I've lost the ability to type. My autocorrect has taken over, and I shall apologise about that. What else? Joe Kiernan, that was the channel. All right. 124,000 views in 2 years. So I'd expect that to be in the millions. You know what I mean? That's key information. I appreciate your position in this and your cognizance, and please appreciate mine and like Brother Josh's and others that I haven't met, that I've chatted to, or that with Santos and Sun and Moon family, Flat Earth dudes, and you know, the likes of the quantum mechanics and the Tellinger, and you make of it what you want. I'm not telling you to believe anything at all. Do not believe none of this. I'm not having a go at Brother Joe there. He's reciting the Kybalion, and is given extra information within that narration. I will give you all of the links again in this video later on when man's not so tired. You know, I've got a hard graft today, and this is something because it needs broaching and bringing out. It's late. It's been on my mind, and I want to do other stuff with Brother Josh, and we're setting up. I'm not saying what he's doing. In my mind, we're setting up Camp Sovereign, Sovereign Fields, headquarters, log cabins, vegetables, organic. You know what I mean? We've got a lot to do this year. When I say a lot, I'm putting pressure on myself, on the trust, on the renaissance that's at hand. We have a ticking clock. So I wanted to get this out of the way. To be fair, that's one, that Tartary, Disney, Epcot, Ford, Rosicrucian magic underground amusement was a interesting watch. It's back there again, 20 minutes. Let me stop screen sharing and get to the screen of screens where your comments are, where all the fun and the action is. Here we go. 28. Well done. It's 11:30 on a school night. So, yeah, by that, I mean school night and obviously work. So thank you very much. I do appreciate your viewing, your time and your input. The chat screen's just loading up now. Thank you very much. Essentially, we got to finish that off. That's Thoth has got to be finished off, even though I call him Thoth. There's more to it, but the Hegelian dialect, please look at it. Look at that, please, and tell me what your mince pies see when you look at it. Research, yes. He's also known as the pyramid builder. I've got lots of information and articles, but when you research this, it's not any institution or academic. There is no, bit like Tesla, you know what I mean? A bit like everybody that's anybody. There's nothing published by them because when the mainstream talk about them, the ones that talk about them have their careers ruined and disappear and end up, you know, 6 foot under an X, Y, and Z. So folk learn to toe the line with their skull caps, yes, in this temporal. I'm going to go deep and etymological with Josh when man's about. I can't do it now, even though I'm so tempted to just go on for another hour and bosh some stuff out. But this is my own discovery and journey that's this man has helped. I can't speak like him and correlate that accurate, concise information. And even when I read from pages, I still manage to waffle on and sidetrack, and that really annoys me. So for me to get this across to you in a short, concise, time with a little bit of something to look at and an interactive chat, yeah, what we've just done is had correspondence. We've just done one of the principles of the seven Hermetic principles. So for those that are confused, and I don't blame you if you are, because it is deep and this is new and it's cutting edge, but it's from what, 4, 6,000, 8,000, 10,000 years old. You're not seeing the Book of Kings and how long that goes off, and what's alleged in Chem, Egypt, Arcadia, Sumer, Babylonia, Judea. It wasn't always HD, Wi-Fi, clickety click, and hopping on Ubers, and life wasn't like that back in the day. The dinosaurs, 86 million year old experiment. What? For those that have done research and so forth. So within these planes and these temporal planes, these spiritual planes, these physical planes, that's what they reference them as. It's not me trying to be one way here. They are planes, and they're planes of existence. And you have the ability now to go away and take some of this if you're suffering, like I said, or you have the affliction of. Remember, we're not speaking legalese, we're at babble stage, and I'd say we're proud of it, but no, we're not. Interesting points and comments raised there, and yeah, extremely, extremely, extremely satisfied and well happy with everything. That content needs to be discussed further. I am going to try my hardest to get the actual narrator on, and he's obviously got an insight and an opinion and an intellect there, so that would be well versed coming on again to be immersed with this realm, us, the family. Oh man, so yeah, when you think about God and the creator, grantor of dominion, g.o.d, that's what we say there with the God of business, yeah, Lord, creator, and other such names, yeah. So you be like law and like the, well, not so much law, like the legal arena and the contract, the public side with your public liability. You need to check every word before you even enunciate it, let alone, before you think it, and that's what the game does to us. It gets us programmed. And I am and was, and I'm trying not to be, the master of babble. You have something to say, you'd like to say it, but you say something else. What is that? What is that? The fact that solicitors have trade is because two men, women, men of the womb do not see eye to eye, and there's a disagreement, and in that disagreement, they need someone to mediate and sort it out accurately, fairly, concisely, equally, blah blah blah, in accordance with said laws. So that's where they come in, because the communication of some kind, the interpretation of something is not seen eye to eye. So it's created a legal issue of which they are both willing to fight for something. Yeah. So it's not always, I agree, a solicitor is not always employed because the communication has failed and we don't see eye to eye. But yes, there's a lot to be said, the languages and where we're at. And as I didn't mean to scare you, Brother Jonesy, JJ, about the pay again, pay agains. Right. There's a notion that's been mentioned that information was passed through very, very wise sages, and what would you call them now? The ones that we've killed off that I can't think of because they don't exist. Um, Shamanic, herbalist types, the nomad. Yeah, I want to give you devotion. I take it down, I take it down, I take it down. Mikey, Ike taking it down on Mikey. That used to be one of my favourite tunes back in 1991 when I did buy that Smash It, This Is Dance, Now Music collaboration. But Nomads, Shamans, these were the ones that had the information, and they passed it down to the village strongman, the one that could go out and hunt, the one that was strong, the one that wasn't on, and don't take offense here, but the one that wasn't on the sick or something and weak and not able to go out hunting, not able to provide, not able to protect, yeah, because that man wasn't going to be living long in the grand scheme of things out there before iPad, Apple, Sony, Huawei, all these things that are going off, and supermarkets and convenience and record amounts of banks being shut down because man's finding it easier to use an app now. It's not that we want to shut it down and let the AI system let loose and take away every human interface that you lot and I out here are going to have. And soon it will be cold metal shutters. It will be offices wherever. It will be laws that you've never known, which aren't laws. There are codes applicable to your person by statute, mandated statutory code for the public out of Westminster. Okay, and this is all relevant, the language, and I can't keep going around in circles, so I'm putting it down on video, I'm getting it out of the way. I've removed myself from most of the public domains, and I'm going to reside on the spospro.com. I'm going to do these videos as and when I see fit, and increasingly ever more to the private, with an articulated line of education coming out through that.com. And furthermore, trusts a declaration of independence, a peace treaty. Like Josh was saying on Sun and Moon, I see that video's at about 600 views last time I checked. So kudos, Josh, man. We've done something good there, and I'm extremely proud of the man that you are and the man that I am, and what Sister Karen, Patricia, Flat Earth Dude, he didn't make it actually. I call him Fed for short. If ever you hear me say Fed, that is Flat Earth Dude. And wow, man's mind is buzzing, and I like what your his style and what we discovered and talked about, and bicarbonate of soda, alkaline in the body. I've said it before, but not so much bicarbonate. Let me get it right. Now. What is the baking soda? Yeah, but he did say bicarbonate. Yeah, bicarbonate, and not the one with the aluminium. And he told you the types, where to get it from, organic, so forth. Alkalines the body, and it kills most of the fungicidal infections that we have. Most of the infections are fungicidal. Bizarre, yeah. So you'd think that the medical institution of doctors and institutions that are around and about, and all these discoveries and researches, would have put out a product with, we'll say, distilled water from Buxton Spring out in Derbyshire, because it's a lovely spring. Other such springs are available, such as Peckham Spring. All right, Tweakle, want to buy some water? Yeah, so you get some water. Sorry, I'm tired. I shouldn't be casting when I'm tired. And you put in some bicarb. You might put some lemon juice in. Let's say that's cost you, about 50 pence. What that will do for your body's biochemistry, and on a acidic and alkaline level, you change and you balance it. So if you don't have the time to eat your healthy diet, and you know you've got too much sugar, and you know that you can't fix it, and you've been to your doctor, you've been on your weight plan, you've got your life coach. That's right. There's a big National Express styley bus there, a life coach. It's amazing, isn't it? The words, but I just thought I'd point out that other such National Express coaches are available, such as Mega Ride and Mega Bus, and first for taking the profits. I'm sure you know who I mean. The big American company that sits pretty over here, so usurping the. So yes, a pence, all right. The colloidal silver water, cut a Samsung charger USB off. In fact, just go to my channel and have a look how to make colloidal silver generator for £22. No, the water distiller, that'll be about 50 quid. You need the pure water, so yeah, water distiller's 50, the silver's 20-ish, 30-ish. Samsung charger, old one, other such phone chargers are available. I'm not into sponsorship. I'm just trying to keep it simple. I promise you, not trying to have a real Kodak moment here. That was on purpose. Other such cameras are available, such as Olympus Digital. Oh, I'm sorry. So yeah, pence cures. Well, I can't say it's a cure. I can't say I've cured out. I'm not allowed because of the Cancer Acts and so forth. But again, twisted, evil, sadistic. Crowley, Josh mentioned Crowley as well. After I went on a tangent after apologising for Jonesy about pagans and phonics. But yes, Crowley, I didn't know him. I don't know the man. I only know what is written, and what is written I can't believe. So I just take it with a pinch of salt until I can give it such credence as substance over form. That day never comes, and we just get together and chat about it ourselves. But yes, lots to be said about that. And I like what he said about his comment about that. Shadow is in the house. Easy now, my man. Thank you for the hangout the other day. Good feedback about that. Good topics raised. Shadow, he's another scriber that's come to shine and step out of the darkness. And one time ago, wow, I need to stop casting. Long time ago, Shadow, I said to a few people, a few good men, that I'd like to meet somebody who had an inquisitive mind and a type of photographic memory, a memory that could just repel, not repel, that could just deliver like soldiers. Yeah, when you think of an army and you think of a squadron battling ranks and everything, you think of Shadow, and you think of his what did Jonesy say? Preach. Thank you, Shadow. You are a true brother. From me to you, publicly, you are a legend. You've got the right attitude. You don't think you know it all. You haven't got an ego. You stepped in there and you give what you think is right and what is relevant. And it's not easy. Everybody has an opinion. It's a hard game. So thank you, brother, for coming up and joining and standing side by side, as we've always said. Side by side, not behind Andy, not behind Dave, not behind anybody, not behind. We don't hide, and we're peaceful. And yeah, like I say, there's a lot to do this year: declarations, treaties, trusts, steering wheel committees, councils of sovereigns, ambassadors. Let's think about banks and that as well. And that phonics, I was talking with G Star about the reserve bank of sovereigns, where we would all form a bank and then we would have a reserve, whether that be your typical reserve. What you'd think of a bank of sovereigns would be a stash of gold and coins, wouldn't you? Well, no, this would be a stash of such things as like what someone donated on that hangout the other night on Sun and Moon. A field, some amount of land was initially or said to be available for use of for a time to benefit man. So we're going to push things like that over here on Indiglo. Maybe this weekend, Friday, Saturday, I'll let you know in good time. Sovereigns, the word of the year. And you look outside, you turn your news on, and you tell me if you feel happy, safe, confident. Got options? Have you any options? No, I don't think there's any options. It's either my way or the highway. You get me? What's that sound like? Oh, what? We've got no backstop. Oh, well, it's all about Ireland and it's all about the commerce and these officers and island building emergency. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent. I realise. Our freedoms are not liberties. Our rights are what we need, and we reserve all our rights as sovereigns at all times. We move to the private and we self govern. After we are realizing we're self governing, we realize we need to be self sufficient. And self sufficient comes from us joining together. And if we as man do not join together and accept our differences, are tiny, really, compared to what makes us in common, what we have in common far outweighs our differences. I assure you that. So if we do manage to put our differences to one side for a short time, and we get together, all creeds, all races, all sexes. Someone's made a comment about sex. Sorry, I was a bit harsh on whoever that was when I said FFS, because I was trying to get a point across and you took me out of the zone. So I'm tired and I apologise to that scribe for my acuteness there. But yeah, it's something that's really important, and it's key that we get this. It's written about. We've forgotten of many things, and I'm sorry to be the one to have to remind you. And I don't want to be the one to have to remind you. Believe you me, and I don't know how I've got to be the one, or one of the ones, should I say, to have to remind you and bring this together in such a way that your penny clicks and you go, right, okay, I see it now. I do actually get it. I see it, and yeah, it's taken a long time, but they've done a good job. And you get, through those stages, and you get to someone that we can actually work with. So this is why I'm doing this for you. It's not for me. It's for all of you and the family out there, because I meet you and I see you every day when I'm cleaning mold, stripping paper, spraying around toilet rims and walls and blackouts. I call them blackouts. I've got photos which I could never show, but I use a personal phone for work reasons, as I'm allowed to, as long as I keep the data confidential. And on this handset, there has been you know, my email outbox and stuff, there is emails with attachments of photos of residential properties with blackouts on. I'm talking a full ceiling full of mold. And it's hard work, you know. You try just doing work on the ceiling, and then you're driving around, traveling around, you know, properties, meeting folk, all different types, moving cupboards, moving wardrobes, moving beds, spraying, painting, cleaning, up and down stairs, masonette. It's not easy. I ain't got the time for this. Need to be sat with my family and sorting stuff out. We shouldn't have to be working to enlighten, illuminate. And yeah, that was interesting, weren't it? Wow. Um, and we shouldn't have to be doing this, as I said, from all the speakers and you know, the times that I've been, the years that I've put into this and that, and dedicated years. That's why I can do what I do. But I'm not saying you need to. We're giving you a turbo boost, authenticated, sovereign, certified. You know what I mean? A set of options here. And anybody that says it's for the money, well, yeah, it is for the money, because if we don't have any money in this system, we'll all die, as you're seeing by the ones in tents outside in your cities. So this is our last hurrah, bastion, stab at it. Why? Because I've got offspring on this planet. I have property and assets. And now I'm entering into a sacred contract with whoever and whatever, as you've just seen presented there, via that information and historical content from that brother. So it's key that you get the civil, it's key that you get the criminal, it's key that you get the administrative, it's key that you get the trust, it's key that you get the ecclesiastical, the admiralty, the maritime, the UCC, then you get your common law, then you get your statute common law, Westminster Codes 64 million, whatever it is. And then you get your trust and your equity, and then you get your hermetic. It's too much for you. I know it is. It's too much. You tell me it is. So this is why we're here. This is why we've done what we've done. And this is why I've used that video in particular that is on chapter 6. We stopped it on. I'm all right to go on, and even in a tired state, but I'm struggling now. So we're going to go to your comments. I'll take a breath and a drink, and we'll finish it off at the weekend. Ceilings are the worst. Yes, they are. Ceilings. Who wallpapers ceilings and why? Why would you put wood chip wallpaper on a ceiling? Why would you buy wood chip? Oh, man. If I was that poor, I just won't bother. But sat in a room now with wood chip chill. And you know what, fam? Yes. Oh, just wrong. It's all wrong, honestly. I can't go into properties and stuff like that. I'll end up saying something I shouldn't. Intense, intense. That's right. Yeah. It's wrong and it's freezing out there. No man should not have anything provided for. If it was you and your family or your somebody or your granddad or your distant relative and you found out, you'd feel something in your heart. But because we're not directly connecting ourselves under this matrix, this is why we allow to happen what's happened. I remember sitting down when I was a nipper and saying to my mum, Mum, why is it every time you give us dinner, the news is on and I see pictures of starving Africans? I'm like, what's going on? And after a bit, I was able to sit there, and me and Matthew have talked about this in Sheffield as well, because he's the same age, and we both remember this happening and times and Tiananmen Square, Tank Man, such things as. And yeah, I was like, it just makes you feel sick now, because we used to eat food watching Africans and Bob Geldof feed the world and blah blah blah. Give us your money, yeah. Give us. And I was like that. No human should be able to eat food whilst looking at another bloated tiny African baby with flies around its mouth dying, and I was eating my dinner. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to say anything to anybody else other than I feel sick. I feel ashamed that me as a teenager, I was already programmed to resist that imagery. And when you think about that in itself, and so we've become disconnected. Now, how have we become disconnected and so focused on jobs and money and houses and able to walk past folk, man, in essentially when I say flock, folk, the lambs are the lamps, and this is it. And thank you for all that do step up and, you know, do stuff and comment and share and get involved. And Blue Man Group, all that from Ceilings was. What's up, Jesus? Bye. My heart bleeds for you, brother. I've got that. Night, John Middleton. All right. Welcome to Indieland. All propaganda, Indie. The only benefit grafted to the people of all nations. What's going on here? Let's see. We'll catch up. I'm going backwards as usual. Bank beneficiaries franchise of Bangkok. Oh, so it's a lot of random words there, John, to me. Oh, yeah, he's coming late. It's all good. Yeah, I see. Yeah, thank you for joining, Jerry. If you don't get a notification, you'll have to go to the settings on the channel, and it will say there is a setting there that they keep changing stuff and upgrading, and it's all going weird. And I've got to talk about Article 13 and China and such things that I've had. I think I've posted them on the .com earlier. In fact, I'm sure I did on the SPL's Facebook profile. That's something else to look at. Copyright, as my friend there is, yeah, come back in the news. This is why they grow everything in a dish to know what to kill the bug. Yeah, cultures are grown in a dish. Culture club. We're a culture as sorts, are we not? We're described as persons and cities and cultures are grown in a controlled environment. Well noted that. Yeah, I like that. Declaration of Barcelona. Have you looked? No. In a word, no. I haven't got a Scooby Doo. There's only so much you can keep. The rest comes from the fam. Then we may again, Kristen. Then Jerry just reading that comment. Vatici. When we put vat, I can. Yes, I've used that myself and still do. But if you keep the VATIC together, Vatic, and then the A and separate, Vati, Medici. I'm thinking of when I did them publications, I was looking at the Franciscan friars and the Roman pontiffs and the trusts and the proclamations there. And it was through Santos's videos I picked up on the Medici family and the I think Franciscans at some point, and then also the Medici. And he says about the Vedas, Veda, because that made me think Veda, Vati. I can't remember now. He says it so fluently. That's why That's why the world needs Santos, and we love him. I haven't. Yes, my surname's Jeremita, and I can't speak Italian, and that's the way life is. I was born in this landmass here. Shivites, hello. Galactic ordering dynamic, Cat 49. I like it. What's with the dog Latin text capital letters? It's not English. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, oh, chill stars. P9 was in the house. I missed your sister. Sorry, I was busy. What was I doing? Yeah, outside chatting. I didn't see you in there. The pyramid. Yes, indeed, they do, Jay. The more numbers, the monster is aloof. Remember, mathematics wasn't designed by man. It wasn't created by man. The mathematics is a universal code system. So whatever the maths are here and the functionality, the correspondence, they are the same elsewhere. There is time dilation, there is to be said, and such things as gravitational effects and argumentative. I don't know. I'm not, a scientist and not qualified to speak like that, but I understand the implied physics and implications of such things. And yes, it's very, very interesting. I am the person OK11. Well, I'm just going through your comments as well here. The pyramids, interesting. The Bosnian pyramids, very interesting. I want to look Angkor. Look at Angkor. Is it in Cambodia? The Temple of. Very nice. Very interesting. Earth is centrum unicycle. Earth is centrum unit. Earth is a vessel, is it not? And a vessel is like what goes on water, is it not? So think of it like that. But there you go. Vessel, Earth, vessel, vessels, ships, vessels, bloods have vessels. Come on now, look at that, eh? So it's all intricate management of systems. Imagine if you was to focus on the human body on a microscopic level, and you was to see all the blood cells and the things happening there. You'd be like, "Whoa, this is chaos. What's going on here? There's far too many things happening. How is all this being controlled, and how is it all making any sense? Is it necessary, etc.?" And then you go away from the human body and you zoom out and you go, "Oh, right, I see. Oh, okay then. So all that's inside there, but it's doing that inside that, and all that's inside that, which is effectively keeping that human functioning." You see chaotic systems, but these systems that they've got controlling us now, they're not so much chaotic, they are contrived and they're working excellently. And we have been hoodwinked in many ways. And they say that because we're ignorant to all of this and what we're showing you and what's been, what would we call now, kept occult. Cult means secret. It doesn't mean evil or dark. It just means it's a cult. We've been what was them that was famous when I was little? Mr. Wendell. Who sung? What were they called now? 13 days, 2 hours, 1 minute, and 5 weeks, something like that for the album title. Mr. Wendell. Arrested Development. That's them. That's us. That is. Yeah. Embarrassing it is. So yeah. We've been arrested. It's been our development has been arrested, and these building societies are clearly not building societies. Yeah, they're taking away and usurping, and the systems at hand are becoming fully robotic, fully automated, fully AI, and fully codified. So when you've got a robotic codified AI system, do you think's coming, everyone? What do you think's coming? I just put it out there like that. Don't forget quantum and 5G's here now as well. Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? We've got all this technology, but yet nothing's working and nothing's working for us. And we're all running around and crashing our iron horses and, going through all what I've said previously. And, you know what you're going through. For what? To get some pennies at the end of the month to show for something when all your estate and everything's paid, and any claim made on an estate would be paid out within 90 days, if not argued, loosely put, paraphrased. So it's like, hang on a minute, this is crazy. All these guys that are allegedly in debt, everybody's bankrupt, and we're all in debt, and we've only got promises to pay. So it's about time the whole, establishment knew that we knew about it, and that it's coming. It is coming. Let's not go digital and Bitcoin so hurriedly. Let's think about these estates and the wealth that is there and the mineral and energy resources. Right. Did God God, the creator, the settler in all of this, did he charge any mother for this realm? No, he didn't. Did anybody pay anybody for this realm? No, they didn't. So it was all bestowed to man. So why is man now owning and claiming to own? And how have we let man get to such a capacity where they can do this to us? 1 million parking fines were issued in 1 year recently in the United Kingdom. 16,000 of them were argued and contested. Well done to anybody who was in that 16,000. I want that number to go up to, oh, I'm telling you now. And if you're interested, there was an article on the radio called, and if you search the program title, it will be called Law in Action. And it was cast over the waves today, and it was on a station that's always on in Movanda. I don't want to advertise, but for those of you that use your diligence and discovery, you search Law in Action and you search parking, PCN will do, Law in Action, PCN, and today's date. You will find what I heard today and all this information that I'm recalling to you randomly in a trance like nation zombie state. Yeah, it's sickening, and what they're doing to us is wrong, and we're standing up and we're doing it honourably, without fighting, without causing damage, without causing harm, without causing riots. And we need this to spread fast. So this doesn't spread, they're going to have the upper hand, and man's going to get angry, and they're going to get yellow vests on, and they're going to emulate what they've been programmed to do. At which point I will break down and cry and head for the nearest hill. thank you all. I hope you've enjoyed it. Sorry it's gone on a bit. There is more to come. We have kind of scratched the surface here. I can't go through all your comments because I'm just going to risk waffling, and I've kept 31. So thank you very much. I hope this will help or has helped somebody somewhere. A penny drop, something click, cognizance about our realm. Tesla, Nikolai, Mister, but we just call him Brother Nikolai and Tesla. A man called Eric. No, yeah, Eric Dollard. You'll search for these on Tube, obviously, and on the realm, and get PDFs of all. Eric Dollard, amazing theories and theoretical concepts. I'm not qualified to judge the man, but apparently, wow, everything there that you could need to know and try and cognize about, again, realms, just something different for you. And the Hutchins experiments of anti-gravity and what that man's alleged to have done amongst what we've talked about, and the sun and moon hangout and what you've presented here. We're a clever lot, see, and you know we are. So once we get together and we pool our resources and get this common unity, trust actually working, then yeah, it's going to be a fine old day. It will be indeed. But thank you. I want to say good night, and you know, no one's right here. Nobody's wrong. You've all got a right to interpretation. You're all scribers in your own right. That's why I love you. You know, we scribe together, not under equals at all times. Albert, we're going to chat tomorrow, and Nonna, we're going to chat tomorrow, both of you. And I think that's everybody. Yes, much love to everybody. Peace and love, light, good vibrations, mental. The universe is mind. You know, when he said that, I'm like, that's mental. And I went, of course it is, because it's mind. And you know, the feng shui and the secret and certain things are all you know, divisions of the truth. And the truth, these things that have come out over the years that these teachers and life coaches and everybody's brought out and said they can enrich and definitely change, and they can to some extent, but they don't tell you the methodology, like the church and praying. Go to the church and pray, and all will be forgiven, and your life will be enriched. Well, when you beg in front of such a creative cosmic force as what we have come to know and understand, then you are not seen or heard, because you are in the begging lower vibratory state. You get into the higher manifestation, indigo, crystal, light workers, rainbow, sovereign, um, freedom, whatever, you know, anything and everything which is honorable and good. Then when you pray and you ask, you kind of, instead of you asking and praying as you would think, you are kind of letting the universe know that you are ready, and the universe will feed that, because all atoms and everything's connected, as you found out through the etheric forces of Jedi, Master Jedi principle from Lucas and Art's fam. It's just truth hidden in plain sight, and yeah, it's a beautiful thing what we've found, and it's not to be mocked. It's not to be taken lightly, and yeah, thank you all. There's the gematria, Jeremita didn't know about gematria, Cat 49, and that's in itself the you know, the alphabet and the phonics again, and the Phoenicians. See, could go on here all night. We've got lots to cover, more to do. If any of you want to have a hangout with me and close this down, or in the future, and you've got some Hermetic principles or anything to do with the Hegelian or Thoth or Chem or Arcadia Summa, telling her bringing out a clay tablet from from Summa that's got the world's first bills of exchange on. I thought, how did that survive? What, I know there's millions of tablets, but it was just, oh wow, I was like, you for real? It's been going on that long. You know, anybody that thinks it, when I heard the word lawyers and bankers mentioned in the Bible, I was like, surely they're modern words. The Bible's well old. Why would them words, we're using them words still, and we've dropped others, and who's in control of this, and who decides and why? Well, we've brought them to you. And yeah, it's not, we're not happy and proud about this line of work either. I'm certainly not. I don't think I take any pleasure spending my finite time trying to do this, you know. So there's no other greater goal than for us all to get together and see a different outcome than what is over on the horizon and on your telly box now. If you know, if you was to turn it on and have a look. So thank you, much love. Those asking about email responses and things. Yeah, I'm a bit behind. I will pick up them. It's a fine balance. We need the .com to pick up with the council of, if you want to get on the council of sovereigns or be an ambassador in your community to start off with. It's nothing that serious. It's just doing what you're already doing, but doing it on an official level with protection and yeah, in a community that we've got that's private, that we manage, that we maintain, and anybody that wants specific things doing, yeah, we can do that straight away because we manage it, and I've been taught how to enhance it, build it, put add-ons on, not code it, but G.o.d does all the extra tech stuff. But between us, within hours, we can do anything and we can provide anything. And when we say anything, we mean anything because we are sovereigns, unlimited, and the rest of the realm is become public limited. We've gone private unlimited, and what I've just shown you there, okay, that's real. That is really that is real. That is real. Israel, yeah, it is real. I've just said it by accident. See, Israel is what I've just said in that sentence that I needed to rewind and pause and go and show you. That is real. That is real. Yeah, so there you go. We can't show it yet any more plainly than that. Thank you very much. We've got more to come, and if you do want to hang out and yeah, have fun, interject, dissect, and let me know. David at splspro.com. And like I say, I'm behind with them emails, so it may take a while, but we'll get there. And I'm going to check my notifications. I'm still looking for Stovilla to come on and say, "What's up? Hello, brother." I know he's going through a bit of difficulty. I've been fed some of his updates through the grapevine of digital medias. And if you get this stove, let me know how you are. Give me an email, brother, because we need you. And yeah, it's each man for his own at the minute, but we're going to change that and bring us together. The magnets are on, the beacons are on. Your comments. I'm gonna look at this. See what I mean? There's too much going on. So yeah, you want to have a hangout? Let me know. If you want to get onto the councils or assemblies and certain things, or help us draft up these notices, declarations, and certain bits and bobs, let me know. And yeah, there's lots happening this year. We're not even at the end of January, and I think we've filled up this year with plans. So going down London maybe February for all those that know that the three knocks of whatever. Yes, we've got to get that bit crispened off, and then looking at what brother X of the Josh of the X clan family has said, and options moving forward. So I'm going to say ciao for now. Much love. Thank you. Arrivederci.